Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. One thing that's been clear this week is Bob Arum, the wily old veteran, was prepared for every eventuality. Always had a foot in both camps, and I know there's some people saying that Arum and Fury never wanted the undisputed fight, but step back and go, okay, 75 million versus taking, maybe 30 million versus Wilder, and a 60-40 split to Tyson Fury. It's clear what they would have wanted, but Bob Arum was trying to finesse issues, including the arbitration. He was telling people that it was about money, that it was not a worry, and obviously Eddie Hearn was acting in good faith on that basis, trying to make an undisputed fight. Bob Arum made Eddie Hearn do all the legwork for the undisputed, and then when things fell over because of the arbitration, Bob Arum was Johnny on the spot to make the Wilder Fury 3 fight because they already had a deal in place. So I know some people will say this is getting made at incredible speed, this fight between Fury and Wilder, a stadium booked for July the 24th, but effectively they're working off the old deal, and that's backed up by some comments made by Bob Arum saying, we're finishing the paperwork. July 24th is the working date. Hopefully we can get it done today. All of the terms are spelled out in that old rematch clause that we had in the original deal. There was very little work to do, almost nothing. It was a 2-page document. So, it is what it is at this point. I know some people have said to me in some videos that I'm not being sincere about, not being too fussed or too phased about Undisputed falling over. And the thing is, I never got fully invested because we've been here, done that, got the postcard in 2018. We had to have it all announced for me to go all in on this. I was warming up to the idea that it was going to be happening, but in the scheme of things, I did very few videos because I wasn't quite convinced. It was the same playbook as 2018 to some extent, where things were just dragging on, not getting done, and then something flipped the switch, and obviously it didn't happen. And I'm just talking in broad terms there, so don't get up in your feelings about Deontay Wilder being involved in the 2018 situation and all the specifics. But what I'm saying is now we've had twice Undisputed where things dragged on for months. It didn't get made. And obviously it's disappointing, but I was prepared for it this time. I said at the start of the year I didn't think it was going to get made until 2022. Obviously a few things in recent weeks, it seemed positive. Ultimately, we're going to get the third Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fight. So I know some people are really bitter about this, and I get it. I was there right with you in 2018 when we didn't get the fight that we've been wanting for a generation. So who knows if it'll happen next. And I would also say, because it sort of seems to be there's a feeling from some fans that after these fights, say if Joshua and Fury both win, that they'll both come together and fight. I think everything is off the table now. I think we have to consider that mandatories may become a factor for whoever the champions are after these next fights. Joshua versus Usyk, it's not a given. Wilder versus Fury, it's not a given. Obviously, though, Tyson Fury for a fight in Las Vegas at the 65,000-seat stadium, that seems to be a fight that a lot of people are leaning towards Tyson Fury, given what happened in the rematch. But it is boxing, the theatre of the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. And obviously with clips like this sort of on screen here, Deontay Wilder working with Malik Scott, who's got an expanded training role, and Deontay Wilder does seem to be actually paying attention, that he's trying to, evolve and adapt his style, not just to be a one-trick pony. Because clearly he's fallen in love with his power over the years and thought that's all he had to do. Everyone was going to fall down at some point if he hit them. And that didn't happen in that rematch. He got taken out by Tyson Fury in 7 rounds. But it does look like he is trying to be better. And that's a positive sign. And I guess, for the build-up for this fight, there is going to be a few threads that will build some interest. But what I would say is, I do think that the interest won't necessarily be as much as the second fight, because you had all that controversy from the first fight, the knockdowns, and then obviously it was a draw. The second fight, that was pretty conclusive with the way it ended. Sure, you've had some of the accusations, the Glovegate, and this, that, and the other that Deontay Wilder and some of his more hardcore, demented fans have been coming out with. But in terms of a third fight, there's been so much time now. So I think part of the way that they're going to build this is through what we're seeing. Deontay Wilder, is he going to be better and different? Because if you've noticed, in the past 10 days to 2 weeks, there's actually been a lot more footage of Deontay Wilder coming out. And that is unusual. Deontay Wilder doesn't usually release too much footage. I mean, I maybe have about 20 clips that he's put up on Instagram in the past 3 or 4 years. He doesn't usually publish a lot of sort of footage and all that sort of stuff. And sure, some of this is coming from Malik Scott, but Wilder will be allowing Malik Scott to post this to Instagram, this stuff. So it does, in some way with the timeline, the last couple of weeks, there's all of a sudden been a whole bunch of Deontay Wilder footage. It does sort of, at least, the cynic in me thinks that maybe there was some sort of draft decision in terms of the arbitration, that all of these guys involved in what is now going to be Wilder Fury 3 had an inclination that the decision was coming, and they've started to ramp up to build towards this third fight. That's just some speculation from me, but the timing, more than a coincidence. And obviously Bob Arum, foot in each camp, and when one thing fell over, he was ready to pounce on the other. And of the stadium that they're looking to book, can they fill it out? I don't know. I mean, they certainly were able to get good crowds for a smaller sort of venue, about 20,000 seater, but this is a much bigger venue. Is there going to be no social distancing? Because if it is just sort of open slather, I mean, what, are they going to get half a stadium? I'm not sure. Is it going to be a sellout? Is the fight big enough at this point? Is there enough interest after what happened in the second fight to sort of, bring about a sellout? I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I hope these big events do as well as possible, because it's good for boxing, puts the best foot forward. And clearly Bob Arum, for whatever fight that he's wanted to be involved in, has always wanted a crowd to be in place. And that's because the gate revenue is that cherry on top revenue. And the other question sort of around this is, what level of interest will there be from the American market for the pay-per-view side? I had one person sort of commenting to me, because I said to him in response to he thinks this will do more than $1 million plus. I said, I don't think it's going to do anything near that. I think it will do less than it did for the second fight. I mean, maybe 500,000-600,000 buys, which is actually very good in this day and age. That's not a failure. That's actually still a very good number. It really depends on a few different factors. Is this going to be promoted to the hilt? They're going to really build this. But in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking, a lot of people saw that second fight. Will they think the third one's going to be competitive? Are they going to be able to hook the casuals back in? And even some hardcore boxing fans, I've seen some people sort of saying because they didn't get undisputed, they're going to boycott this one, they're going to stream it or not watch it at all. Ultimately, I think a lot of people will still watch it. But the number, I don't think it's going to do 1 million buys. I think it will be less than that. I think it'll still be a good number. But, you can certainly argue, I think, based on what we saw in the second fight, that the level of interest, at least initially after, and even sort of now, people are saying they're not as interested as they were for the second fight. And I think that's always a good barometer. But I had someone tell me, actually, that I couldn't comment on that, because effectively I'm not from America, so I don't have a right to comment on American-related pay-per-view buys and stuff like that, which is nonsense, because that's the whole sort of Tony Bellew sort of school of thought, that if you haven't boxed for a world title, you can't have an opinion. At the end of the day, it's an opinion. We all have them. But I think, being logical with all this stuff, I think the third fight will do less than the second, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. I want these guys in these events to be doing well and getting big numbers. If they don't, obviously that's disappointing, but if they do, more eyes to the sport, more people watching heavyweight boxing, having interest in the division, that's good for it. I mean, I think a lot of people just got to stop pushing their own individual barrows and actually step back and look at, this is good for the health of the sport if the event does well. If it doesn't, we can sort of, dissect that. But I think we would already know a few of the reasons why it might be a bit down on the second fight, which was a conclusive ending to that rematch. But anyway, it's looking likely that this is going to be locked up soon because they already had all the paperwork effectively done. So July the 24th, Fury Wilder 3. We'll get to some thoughts on the sort of the fight and other bits and pieces in other videos. But just touching on a few pieces of news here and a few thoughts that I've had in recent days. But what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.